Thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I draw and paint blonde hair. So be sure to watch it right through to the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. This is how we left it in part 2, so we'll continue now with the hair. But before we do that, here's a quick recap on how I did the underdrawing, just using the basic white, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna and burnt umber, just to get the basic underdrawing done. Now you can freeze the video if you wish to check on the colours I'm using, but I will leave all that information in the description below so you can take a look at that later. Most of the area has been mapped out when I did the underdrawing, so it's just a case now of going over that with richer colours. So I'm using Carandy Ash colours for the richness and then glazing over the top with the others. So it's just a case of really building it up. I'm using the primaries again, but instead of using red, I'm using the burnt sienna, then lemon yellow and yellow ochre, which makes a nice gold colour together, and then using the burnt umber and ultramarine for the shadows. I always like to just start on a small section to get a feel for what colours is needed and play about with it and changing things about, to trying different things. If that don't work, then try something else and get familiar with what the procedure is before I carry on. So that's what I tend to do to start with. Now when you put in the burnt sienna in there, it can be a little bit too vibrant, so to dull that down, in this case I'm using actual green, which is the complementary colour because it's more of a reddy colour. But you could say it's an orangey colour as well, so you could try the blue if the green don't work, so it's just a case of experimenting. Now I'm mapping the area out with white and then glazing over the top. So it's a case of just keep going over that white, trying to get the shapes and the flow right, and then keep glazing and keep repeating really until it looks right. The initial stages, I'm not too fussed about trying to get every wisp of hair right at this moment. It's just a case of getting the colour balance, and you're building it up in layers, you see. All the details and wisps and flyaway hair will be done at the end. So just basically what we're doing here is trying to get a balance of shade, colour, the flow, and just building up the values, making sure everything sort of fits and everything sort of marries with the face as well, so it's not sort of standing out too much. It's a case of getting a feel right for it. As you see here, I'm mapping out all the strands of hair now with the Carbothello white, just getting a feel for where things go. Again, not so accurate, it's just a case of just getting a feel for it, and then just glaze over the top. My approach to doing the hair is like everything else I do, is that I don't see it as, I don't give it a name. I don't say, oh God, I've got to do all that hair. Just see it as light and shade and feeling, energy, and just let the things just happen. The movement will just happen on their own. You'll be surprised how it just flows. Because if you start to actually say, all right, I've got to do this hair, things can get a little bit too stiff and too intense, and it all leads to stress. So I would suggest just seeing it as a flow, movement, light and shade, and just let go and enjoy. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Now the best paper I've found to lean on so it don't smudge your work is called Glazing paper. Now I've left a link in the description below if you want to check that out. Now to really get that shimmery effect, what I'm using now here, as you can see, is a Candy Ash pencil, which is quite rich in pigment, which causes it to stand out more. It makes it more vibrant. So I'm tending to put that underneath first, then glaze a little bit on top, and that gives it that shimmery look. For the darkest areas, I'm using the burnt umber with the ultramarine blue, which gives it depth. So if you want, rather than using black, I use the brown and the blue. It gives it more sort of feeling. If you would like to support me on Patreon, I'm now offering an exclusive 4-hour-long video plus a step-by-step exclusive video every month. To find out more, the link is in the description below. There's a lot of reflective light shining onto the actual hair colour, which is the boards, you know, the quite a rusty coloured board in the shed. So that's reflecting onto the hair, so that all has to be taken into account. I will actually change, maybe subtly, all this reflected light after I've put the background in, but for now I'm just putting it in roughly, but it might change as I progress with the painting. Giving you a close-up view now, and I've slowed it down so you can see what's happening, is how I am getting the subtle transition from the hair and the skin, because sometimes it can be quite subtle, and if you're not careful it can look like a hair helmet. So I'm using the actual Carbothello white to blend with, because it's a beautiful pencil and brand to do this. It seems to subtle everything without using any tools to blend with, and then you can go over it again with colour. Right, I've continued slowing it down for this section here. Now I want to just show you how I build things up, and so be patient and just stick with me, because it gets interesting as I start to glaze. But what I'm doing here is showing you how I prepare before the glazing. So what I'm doing is getting the darks and the lights in there, so getting all that structure in, and then you'll see me as we progress starting to glaze. Now with glazing, I'm slightly putting pressure on that pencil, not too much, just enough just to scrape across the pastel mat, but you'll notice that the actual marks I've put underneath is still visible. So that's why it's really good to use the Carbothello or the Candy Ash white underneath, so it sticks to the pastel mat, and then when you glaze over the top with dusty pastel, it don't move those marks. And what you're doing is using your complementary colours, and you're mixing and getting the shades you want on top of that preparation you've done underneath. If you're getting value from this video, Please give it a like and share it with your friends. It would mean a lot to me, as this will help the channel to grow. Now you can see me here, I'm building up the actual reflected light from the boards in the shed there again. Just keep glazing, just adding colour after colour, so you're mixing on top of each colour to get the subtleties right. So it's all a case of just sort of randomly putting those colours in, just feeling your way through. Now there's a tendency you can get a little bit too intense when you do hair. There's a lot of detail to achieve, but if you just relax and open the heart and don't allow the mind to take you over, because the mind will start to put doubt in you and start to get a bit impatient. If this happens, just take a break from it. 5 minutes away, it makes all the difference, and then you come back with a fresh eye then. For longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please join me on Patreon. Link is in the description below. The final things is just to go around and just making sure the values are correct. So you squint your eyes and then find out which shade sort of compares with other shades, and then try and get that relationship right. And squinting the eyes does the trick, and also look in the mirror just with a different view of it. It sometimes brings out things that needs to be done, or even take a photograph on your phone and look what it looks like, which is a great visual aid just to bring out any areas that might need attention. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the people out there that are actually supporting me on Patreon. It means a lot. It helps me to finance these free videos for you as well. So really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough. You're awesome. Thank you. Hope you've enjoyed part 3. Now part 4 will be the clothes and the background, so I'm going to do that in one video. So be sure to check that out next week. Thank you for watching the video right through to the end. If you found value in it and you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Appreciate it, would help the channel. Leave a comment and a message in the comments below. Let me know what sort of videos you want me to produce. I've actually left a couple of links here for you to click on. And to subscribe, click on the circle here. It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Thank you so much, take care and be well.